This week on Love in Paradise, people are pushing all types of boundaries.
You slept in the same bed? Is it true?
You didn't know that you guys were in an open relationship.
Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We're here to discuss the latest episode of Love in Paradise. This week has given us a lot to discuss, so before we get into that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. And yeah, let's get into it. So let's start with Madeleine&Luke, okay? So when we catch up with these two, Madeleine is still puffy, red-faced, just crying over the prenup situation, of course. And Luke is like, we're in this beautiful place. I proposed here. Let's try to have a good time. And to Luke, I say, if you wanted to have a good time, why would you bring up the main point of contention in your relationship on your vacation? This isn't the place. Because you can't control how someone reacts, but he wants her to chip her up because his friends are coming over, and by friend I mean Brian, Messy Brian, and his wife. At that point, I'm like, you're adding fuel to the fire because you know Madeleine already does not like this man. Because after all, he is the guy that planted the prenup in your head to begin with, so she's pissed. Somehow, though, she manages to keep it together. I think it has a lot to do with Brian's wife being present because that is one of her close friends. So we see them and they're playing on this, like, it looks like a bouncy house, but in the water. It looks like a lot of fun. But the fun doesn't last very long because we see them go eat some ice cream in this like serene spot, and it lasts all of 2 seconds. Because Madeleine very directly tells Brian, I want to talk to you. Why do you want to live in my relationship? So in person, Brian is like, I'm not trying to be in your relationship. But to the producer, he says that he does not trust Madeleine and that he wants to make sure that Luke knows everything before he's in too deep. And I'm just like, sir, he is in too deep. He's engaged to this girl. But anyway, Brian is like, this is my chance to give him the tea in front of Madeleine as well. And so the tea is that apparently a friend of Brian's reveals that he went to Madeleine's apartment, the luxury apartment that Luke pays for. That he went to that apartment and that he ended up sleeping in the same bed as Madeleine, and Madeleine was topless. And Madeleine immediately denies this. And Luke is like, how could you do this in my bed? And Madeleine is denying. And so Luke is in disbelief that she would do this, especially, again, like I said, he pays for this place. He feels like it's just like an invasion in their relationship. He can't trust her. And the whole time he's talking to her, Madeleine is looking at Brian. And she's like, are you serious, Brian? Like, she's not even addressing Luke or even trying to, like, make him feel better. That's not true. Like, I think there's a miscommunication. But she's like, I'll deal with Luke later. Brian, why would you say that? And so from the sounds of it, Luke is very much believing Brian and just walks off. He's pissed, okay? And so I don't know what the aftermath was with Madeleine and Brian and her friend. And so Luke does eventually come back. At this point, Madeleine is just with her friend alone. And she looks up at him and she's like, I'm not going to beg you to forgive me when I didn't do anything. I'm not going to beg your forgiveness for something I didn't do. Like, that's just not going to happen. And she's very much like combative because her stance is, you didn't have my back. Like, I was being attacked and you didn't have my back. I know that's what she was thinking. But he's like, I just heard some trifling news about you and you're not doing anything to make me feel better about it. But she's very pissed at the fact that he is so willingly believing Brian, because what she says is that she did communicate to Luke about the party. And I'm unclear on whether or not she told him that some guy went to her room without her permission. But she doesn't mention ever that she was in the bed with him or anything like that. Just that during the party, he went into her room. So Brian eventually is like, yeah, it's time for us to go. And so he grabs his wife and they go. But before they go, the wife has like a one-on-one interview with the producers. And she says something really strange. She says I feel like I'm being put between a rock and a hard place, between my wife and not my wife, between my husband and my friend, and I just can't confirm or deny. I just have to go. And I'm just like, I understand having your husband's back, but also if this is your friend and you know for a fact that she didn't do anything, this is the moment to speak up. Like, if I were in that position, I'd still be like, my friend is innocent. Like, I believe that my husband heard this, but I don't believe that it's true because X, Y, and Z, because I know this. But she didn't say that. So I feel like there's more to the story. She knows something. And we may not find out this episode, but we're going to find out. I just know we are, because it was just really shady. I would love to know what you guys think about that moment, because I feel like there's more. Luke is pressed. He's pissed because he's like, she's not denying that someone was in my bed, and that's a problem. And so he tells her, you have the opportunity to gain my trust, like basically speak up. And she's like, an opportunity? So her ego is bruised in this moment, okay? She's like, I don't want to have to beg for someone to trust me, to believe me. Like, if that's the case, you need to go home. And so they eventually get in the car and I guess go back to their little bungalow. And here's the thing. She could be innocent in this situation, but the situation doesn't look good, right? And if you are the one that is in the uncomfortable situation where your partner is feeling hurt by something that you did or might have done, I get that no one wants to be accused. It doesn't feel good. But also, your partner is thinking that you cheated on them. And if this is someone that you want to be with, you should have every intention of trying to make them feel better, of trying to explain yourself. But the fact that she's just like I don't have to explain anything. You should just trust me. That's not how trust works. You need to communicate with your fiance, girlie. But then there's moments like this one that it feels like they're trying to outdo each other in who's more childish over the other. Because Luke, who's supposedly 30, right? He says, I'm not here for this drama. All of this feels very high school. I don't want a teenage girl. I want a woman. Interesting that you would say that when you've chosen to be engaged to a 19-year-old. So sorry about it, but you did sign up for high school. Like, what's not adding up? You date a teenager, you get teenage drama. So immediately when he said that, I was like, and I'm done. I'm done feeling bad for you, because what? They didn't solve anything in this episode, so I'm sure this drama will continue to the next. Let's move on to the next couple. Let's move on to Alex and Adriano. We didn't see them the last episode. They're back in this one. And they're singing the same tune. So their segment is super quick in this episode. These two have been riding the struggle bus, okay? They've had an awful week. The evening before we see them, it's when they had that awkward dinner at his mother's house, where Alex brought up the religion talk and started crying and felt like she was being attacked when she wasn't. It has been a rough time. So they're at the beach and they're hoping that it's just going to wash everything away, okay? And so we see them meet up with one of his friends. We had seen this friend when he went to the barber shop. But his friend is like, oh, nice to see you. How has everything been? And Alex and Adriano are so awkward because they're like, not good, not great, but they don't know how to answer it. And so he's like, oh, is it because of the threesome talk? And boy, oh boy, no. It's one of their other million issues. Not the threesome talk, but thank you for bringing that up because it will come up again. And for a moment, her cousin joins them, but you could tell that this is just a ploy to get the friend away because they're in the scene for like 2 seconds. Then it's back to Alex and Adriano. And they're drinking wine in their beach chairs. And he's like, you look so beautiful. And then he looks at some girls on the beach and he goes, they look beautiful. Maybe we should talk to them and take one of them to dinner. And you could just see Alex just be like, are you kidding? Are you serious right now? He's like, yeah, we could see how it goes. And then, maybe do a threesome, see how we feel. And Alex is like, what don't you understand? That I do not want to do that. that I don't want any parts of that. And he's like, just one night. Let's just do it one more time. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I don't know why I was surprised that he's so insistent, because he told us that he would be in the first episode. He told her, I'm going to keep asking you because I really want to do it. And he repeats that in this scene. And he reminds her, he's like, this is a part of my life and I'm going to keep asking you. And that's not okay. Nothing about that feels consensual, because if she ends up agreeing, it's because you coerced her into doing it. None of that sounds great. And she keeps telling him no. And she's like, if that is so important to you, you're going to have to make a choice. You can't have me and threesomes because I'm not going to agree. And if you so desperately want to have this as part of your lifestyle, then find someone that aligns with that. Alex keeps telling you that she is not the one for that. And so they're going to keep having this fight because they both won't let each other go. They're both recognizing time and time again that they are not agreeing on this thing that they're adamant about, but they each refuse to let go. It's not going to end until one of them do. So it's such a mess. And in the next week, in the preview, I saw that he even suggested that they could have a threesome with her cousin. That man is shameless, okay? But we'll address that next week when we see it. Let's move on to the next couple, Shawn and Alliya. We catch up with Alliya while she's getting her hair done, and of course her girl Jackie's by her side. And Jackie's like, so how was it when you guys went back home? Was Shawn really annoyed at my questions? And Alliya doesn't address it, but she tells the cameras that, yeah, Shawn was annoyed, but she was so grateful for Jackie because these are things that they need to get to the bottom of, And I believe that Jackie is Alliya's friend, but I also believe that the producers might have had a talk with Jackie because she's asking the right questions, okay? Because she's like, oh, how are things, since you've been together? Like, how has the intimacy been? And Alliya shares that she has not been intimate with Shawn this whole time. And Jackie is shocked. I was shocked because they look like they have great, chemistry. And at first I was like, oh, is it because Alliya now identifies as Alliya and like maybe her relationship with her body and with sex is different? So maybe like that's why they haven't been intimate? But that's not the case. The reason is that they've been in an open relationship, sorta, kinda. She noticed on his phone that he had all these dating apps. And she's like, wait, like, what's this about? And he was like, yeah, we're in an open relationship. And she kind of just had to like accept it. And so she wasn't under the impression that they were ever in an open relationship. And he kind of just like said it like it was law. And so she's feeling uncomfortable with that because, again, it's not a decision that she was a part of. And so she wants to have a bigger conversation about that before she can allow herself to be physical with him again. People have I can't even say it, non-monogamous relationships all the time, but that's not how you go about it. That feels really shady. Those kind of conversations are just super important. And if Alliya thought that y'all were monogamous and you all of a sudden turn up and are like, no, we aren't, then sir, you were technically cheating. This, of course, is firing up Jackie because she's like, what? And she again highlights the power dynamics in their relationship. And she reminds Alliya that she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to do. You guys, it's that thing that I was talking about, the thing that I was telling you about that I don't like about Shawn. It just doesn't look good. A man his age going after someone that young and just having this authoritative role that doesn't feel like collaborative. Because I don't know, there's just something about it that doesn't sit right with me, but more on that. So that night, we do see Alliya try to have the talk with Shawn, and she asks him, she's like, so when we get married and we live together, because apparently, he only did this because it was long distance. So she wants to know, she's like, when we get married and we live together, are you still going to be doing this? Are we still going to be open? And so he says that he only wanted it because they were apart. Apparently, they were only seeing each other a few weeks out of the year. So it was a long time to be apart. And he says some BS of like, well, touch is my love language. And that's a cop out. That doesn't excuse you from having a proper conversation with someone about whether or not this is something that they would be okay with. Why do you get to decide, like, oh, well, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to be able to be with you. I'm going to resent you. The way you carry resent is your problem. And maybe with more conversations, this was something that Alliya would have eagerly consented to, but it sounds like she begrudgingly did so because she felt like she didn't really have a choice at the time. And so since they're having this open conversation, Alliya continues pushing it a little further. She's like, you know, that situation does affect how I see you in the intimate setting. Have you felt different with our intimacy? Does it affect you that I'm Alliya full time? And Shawn says the following. He says that he needs to feel like a man when they're intimate, and that, he's fine putting up with the persona, but not in the bedroom. And, he's referred to Alliya as a persona a lot of times. But Alliya is not a persona. She isn't a drag queen. She's a trans woman. Okay? And so Alliya hears this and she's like, which persona? And he goes on to say that, Alliya's a bad bitch and, she's not going to be the boss of him. Power dynamic thing is coming up again. Because what? So whoever edited this edited in all of the scenes where Alliya has been outspoken. This persona that he speaks of. And every example has been of her just setting boundaries about her identity, that Douglas is gone. Setting boundaries and being assertive about her gender expression, whether or not she wants to get surgery, things that are her choice. None of it is telling Shawn what he should do with his life. It's just speaking about herself and what she wants to allow herself to do and accomplish no matter the situation. Because I think someone is bossy when they're telling other people what to do with their lives. But Alliya has not once expressed how other people should live their life. She just wants permission to do as she pleases. I thought that it was really interesting that they highlighted that because I think that it was important. There's a lot that Shawn said that I was like, you are really stuck in your ways and this may not work, huh? First of all, that whole feeling like a man, many people can possess masculine energy. It has nothing to do with your genitals, but I just found it problematic that he said that to Alliya because once upon a time he was in a male-male relationship. So I just thought that it was unnecessary to say that to Alliya. I don't think Alliya wants to be masculine. If anything, I think she's been fighting so hard for you to see the femininity in her. Of course, we don't know the details of the bedroom, but I just felt like that was a dig. But I also just don't appreciate the way he talks about his fiance. He keeps talking about how Douglas was so, like shy and quiet. And I'm just like, those characteristics that you miss are problematic because Alliya has said that she was only like that due to trauma, due to depression. She felt shy because she had gender dysphoria. She didn't feel comfortable in her skin. Those were all of the reasons why they used to be shy. So the fact that you keep telling them that you miss this is insulting on so many levels. And he doesn't want to accept that because he can't let go. And at this point, I think that it would be more harmful to stay with Alliya and keep repeating the same thing. Like if you can't let go of that person that is now gone, you need to leave this relationship. It's not fair to either of you, but it's especially not fair to almost like resent Alliya because that is what it feels like we're seeing. Because what it sounds to me is like Shawn isn't comfortable with the fact that Alliya no longer hides in his shadow. Alliya is out and proud and comfortable in her skin and commands the attention. Alliya is clearly taken aback by his answer. I don't think that she could foresee that he felt like that about her. And this is just probably something that he should have talked about with her before he proposed. I don't expect all your issues to go away once you propose to someone. They're heavy stuff. So we'll see where these two end up. Let's move on to the final couple. It's Kyle and Ani. So we see these two the morning after. We're in Kyle's apartment, and he is very sleazily telling the producer that him and Ani did the deed. And so as he's guzzling down pills, he's talking about how impressed she was with his package and how loud she was, that he thought his neighbors were going to be upset. And I'm just like, ugh. He's doing that thing where he's trying to be fake humble. It's so, ugh. Anyway, the producer's like, did you guys use protection? And he's like, no, it never came up. I love that the producer's like, why didn't you use it? And then it pans to Ani, who's shopping because she's like, I don't think I'm ovulating, but I could be ovulating. And so she's buying an ovulation test. And I just think all of this is ironic because the way that she met Kyle was in her pursuit of getting a sperm donor. But now that she's met him and she's realizing how twisted everything is and how unstable their relationship is, she's like, about that, I don't want to have a baby just yet. And so she's back home. She takes the test. It looks a little blurry. She's like, you know what? I would feel more comfortable if I just took a morning after pill. So when they talk on the phone and she's, setting the plans for tonight, she's like, hey, could you please bring me a pill? And so he's giving his unnecessary feedback, being like, I don't think you're pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And kind of like a push and pull. And she's like, I just need you to get me the pill. I don't need this extra input. And so he's like, it's a little weird for me to get a morning after pill because I'm usually getting women pregnant. And she's like, I'm not one of your clients. Get me the pill. And so they hang up and she is not pleased with his reaction. She just feels like he doesn't respect her choices and he wasn't supportive. I mean, I don't really know what to say about Ani. I feel like she's had so many opportunities to run and she hasn't. So the next scene that we see of her is cooking dinner and she's waiting for him to arrive with the pill. He arrives, she's like showing him her house, and she's like, okay, where is it? And he's like, where's what? And she's like, where is the pill? And he's like, about that. And so he says that based on his experience, because he has so much experience getting women pregnant, she's not ovulating because he pulled out. And he goes on to be like, and I track your period, so I know that you're not ovulating. And Annie's like, what do you mean you track my period, you weirdo? I've told you like twice. You don't know my body like that. You don't know me like that. Why are you making predictions about whether or not I'm pregnant? I asked you to do something, and this is a betrayal. And my thing is, the minute a man that is not your man tells you that he's tracking your period, hello? It's time to run. Like, the fact that she didn't kick him out in this moment is crazy. I would be so creeped out. That is not normal. But this is, again, just more proof to ladies, to everybody. Don't leave your sexual health at the hands of any man. Always pack a condom. Always get your own pills. Go to the doctor and get checked. Don't trust these hoes, okay? Annie is pissed because she's like, you should have said no on the phone, but you said yes. Like, I can't trust you. And the whole time she's talking, he has this stupid smirk on his face. And that's where we leave off with them in this episode. So I hope that in the next episode, we see that she kicked him out because that's not cool. And I forgot to say, he also called her old. He was like, she's 39, so she won't get pregnant that easily. And I'm just like, You are not an expert just because you stick your peen in a bunch of women. The whole situation was just icky and creepy, and oh my God. Yeah, that was the end of this episode. There was a lot that happened. I would love to know your thoughts. At this point, who do you think is going to make it out together? And who do you think is going to end after this season? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.